Please enjoy this uninterrupted conversation as part of our academic integrity series brought to you by Integrity for Education. Integrity for Education supports your institution by unlocking the full potential of digitalization through the right mix of software solutions, strategic consulting, and sustainable implementation of state of the art technologies. Learn more at integrityforeducation.de. That's integrity, the number 4, education.de. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to ed up on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. Today, I have with me a new co-host. Hopefully, this won't be his only time here. I'm very excited to have him. I've known him for a while. He's an awesome guy. He's fantastic, extremely knowledgeable. And he's calling in from a different country, which is awesome. And he is Thomas Fetch. He's the CEO of Integrity for Education, GmbH. Thomas, how you doing today?
I'm fine. Hey, as I said, I'm on my vacation at the moment. Just learned about it yesterday, but I'm very proud to be here. And as you sent me a message, I just felt it correct to join, no matter what. So I really rearranged a little bit, and I'm very, very proud to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Elvin.
Absolutely. Thanks for being with us. And again, hopefully we'll hear more of you in the future. So let's bring in our guest. You know him. If you're a part of the EdUp family, you know him extremely well. Super excited to have him on for the first time. I'm trying my best here, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. He is Dr. Gregor Thuswaldner, and he is the Vice President for Academic Affairs and the Dean of the faculty at the Roche University. Gregor, how did I do on that last name?
Perfect. That was great.
Almost.
I'm so proud of you, Elvin. Yes, you nailed it.
Well, thanks for being here, Gregor. I really appreciate it. So, we get right into it. So tell us about what you do and how do you do it, Gregor?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And, this is a really interesting thing. Usually I'm like you behind the mic, right? Asking those questions.
Yeah.
Things are different now, and then I'm in the hot seat. But yeah, it's great. So thank you again for inviting me. So, well, I'm the VP for Academic Affairs and Dean of the Faculty, as you mentioned, and that is an awesome job, I believe, because you get to work with so many different people. With faculty, obviously, you get to work with the administration, with the president, and I really like this particular title because it signals that I'm this in-between person. So I'm a transformer of sorts, I guess, meaning I work closely with the president on her new vision. And I know that you just had her on your show and she's fantastic.
Yeah.
La Roche is changing because of her for the better. And I'm so excited to be part of this administration and initiate change with her and my colleagues. But also with the faculty, of course, because you cannot initiate change on your own. And that means you need to get the faculty on board with things. And that means negotiation. And I love that. I took a mediation class 10 or so years ago, and that really opened my eyes. And that really helps me on a daily basis to work with people and to really focus on interest rather than positions and to move an institution forward. That's so exciting when you can, after a while look back and see what, not you, but collectively, what the group, the faculty and the administration collectively were able to accomplish. So we can all be proud of what we were able to accomplish. That is pretty awesome. So I really love my job.
No, that's great. And I know you mentioned that you've been on the other side of the microphone. So talk a little bit about your podcast. And then also, before I pass it over to Thomas so he can ask some more questions, talk about the book. You have an amazing new book out. So we want to hear all about it.
All right. Well, about the podcast, it's basically thanks to you and Joe that there is a podcast. EdUp Provost, and we're part of the EdUp family thanks to the two of you, and that is something that I guess Lori Shandison, who has EdUp Accreditation Insights podcast, she was the one who told me about you, Elvin, and so she invited me to her show. I was a guest on her show. I forget now when it was, but it was so much fun that I thought, wouldn't it be great if we had a podcast for provosts? And so I mentioned that to her, and she said, you need to talk to Elvin. And so I reached out to you. She connected me with you, and the rest is history, as they say. And so, yeah, we've released now 80 or so podcast episodes. And this is season 3. And season 3 focuses on the new book that you just mentioned, because we're really excited about this new book. And I should also mention that EdUp Provost is in collaboration, of course, with the EdUp Experience, but also it's the podcast of the Association of Chief Academic Officers, an association that I've been affiliated with for a while. It's really the go-to organization for chief academic officers, for provosts, for VPAAs, whatever their actual title may be. So the book is called The Chief Academic Officer's Handbook: A Provost's Guide to Visionary Leadership. It's a mouthful, but the editor, that is the publisher, Johns Hopkins University Press, they assured me, it's a keyword-rich title, and we want that. So here we go. That's how we decided on it. And it grew out of a board meeting, one of my first board meetings with ACAO, when I mentioned that, it would be great to have a book. Because when I became a provost, several years ago at a different institution, I wish I had a book like that. That was a handbook that I could open up and really look up a chapter on, say, academic freedom versus freedom of speech. What's the difference? How am I supposed to, talk to a faculty member who talked about something that may be inappropriate, or students got really upset in the professor's class, right? So this is a matter of freedom of speech. This is a matter of academic freedom, what is protected, and so forth. But also lots of other questions that our handbook tackles. And it has 35 different chapters written by current, but also former provosts that are or were associated with ACAO. There are also a couple of non-provosts in this book who have written chapters. There's a dean, Forrest Anderson, for example. He's a dean of arts and sciences at the University of South Carolina, Aiken. So he writes a chapter on, what makes a good provost from a dean's perspective. We also have a faculty senate president who talks about her perspective. What makes a good provost from a faculty senate president's perspective, and also a president who talks about his perspective. What makes a good provost for a president? So that was important too, that there are many different perspectives included in this book. What was also important to me was that the range of institutions that the writers represent is pretty broad. So we have colleagues from community colleges, from small liberal arts colleges, from R1 institutions, from regional publics. So that was important too, that it's the whole spectrum of higher education that is represented in the book. So somebody from a community college can pick it up, somebody from a small liberal arts college can pick it up, and they all will find important information, despite the fact that our institutions are different on many different levels, but there are also many similarities when it comes to the role of the chief academic officer.
Amazing. Go for it, Tommy.
That was very comprehensive. I would like, I'm triggered now. I want to see the book. I want to read it. But maybe question, Gregor, regarding your book. So, I'm focusing on education from a specific angle, which is academic integrity. And so my question would be, do you also have answers, or do you also tackle, as you said, the topic academic integrity, which are the biggest threats? And maybe consequently the reputation for educational institutions attached to academic integrity. What are the biggest threats at the moment? What would you say?
Well, that's a good question. That's a question that we don't tackle in the book per se, but it's there implicitly because, we talk about integrity a lot, because when it comes to leading well as a chief academic officer, you have to lead with authenticity and integrity. And that is something that, one of my heroes, Parker Palmer, a public intellectual and also educator and activist, he talks about in his book, The Courage to Teach. So it is about integrity. And of course, academic integrity is part of integrity, right? And I guess in this day and age, um, well, it's particularly important, but I think you have to um, also, well, think about the fact that integrity has always been important to the academic enterprise, right?
Hmm.
Integrity. And now, we have more tools to undermine academic integrity. And and of course, when it comes to AI, that of course, ChatGPT and company, they have been seen as a major threat when it comes to upholding academic integrity. But I guess the problem has been with us forever, right? Um,
Hmm.
I think when it comes to academic integrity, as important as it is, and upholding those, and we develop policies around that. And of course, in the age of AI, we have to constantly adapt and change and update those integrity policies. But I think what we what we need to do is we need to ask the question, are our students learning? I think that is the most important question. Sometimes we ask the question, are our students cheating? And the
Yeah.
answer is absolutely yes, because they've always, students have always cheated. In the history of education, students have always cheated. Okay, you cannot say that no cheating happened. That began in the year and you know 10, 11.
Absolutely not. I agree. I agree totally. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think AI obviously opens uh, the door to more sophisticated cheating, I guess. But I think there are ways to use AI to stick with that in such a way that we can help students actually learn and become more responsible, um, use critical thinking skills, so they can actually uh, do and work with AI in a way that is that shows integrity. But yeah, I guess when it comes to threats to academic integrity, I would say AI is a potential threat.
All
Um,
right.
but then I would add a huge but there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree entirely. And I think it's really about learning. So the question is here, and this is just out of on top of my head, but are you using AI for your day-to-day work?
Yes.
Yeah, same
Oh,
same with me. So absolutely same with me. And so for me, if I just want to return a little bit to that, is it helps me because it triggers a lot. It triggers like a thinking process. And so if we utilize AI as a tool that triggers a thinking process and then like create something by yourself, it's still like an integral, a great thing maybe and a good outcome, whatever. So okay, yeah, I get
I
it.
agree.
Nice.
The way I use AI for the most part is to ask me questions.
Yeah. Ah, nice.
And instead of it providing answers to me, I wanted to ask me questions so I can actually see my blind spots. I can see things that I haven't considered, different perspectives, right? And there's one question that I love that I need to play more with, and that is, the question posing to AI or to so I use Claude a lot. I like Claude, and I would ask, how can I make sure that I use AI today in such a way that it can help me be more efficient, and then I get lots of suggestions, right? And that really helps. I mean, some of those suggestions are not very good, but others are. And and so, but also when I write a text or so, and I present the text to AI and say, what am I missing? And I don't want you to give me answers, but ask me questions about this text, so I can really zoom in and think about some of the implications here. Because I may say something in a text, I may think about something different because we know that you know what we say and what we mean. There's usually a gap in between, and if AI can
Mhm.
help us close that gap, you know, um, and help us think better and help us with our critical thinking skills. But of course, in order to do that, we have to have critical thinking skills to begin with.
Yeah, true. And I think there is still like this element where AI is used to cheating, like very sophisticated cheating is happening based on AI, I think. So which leads me to my second question is, like, do you think of like, do you have measures like in your mind that are most effective to address those threats or to address like cheating or academic dishonesty, which is right the opposite of academic integrity, right?
Right. So I think when it comes to that and students' use of AI, I think what has happened already and what is happening still is that we're catching up. We're trying to figure out, the types of assignments, the types of questions we should ask. If an AI can answer uh, a, a given question, maybe we shouldn't ask that particular question. Maybe there's a different way to assess learning, and that's, I think, what it boils down to. How can we assess our students' learning? How can we make sure that they're actually learning, right? And it's not outsourced to an LLM. So I think there are different ways, right? Some professors say, for this particular assignment, you should not use AI. And in other cases, they tell you specifically how you should use AI, right? And how AI can actually help you in this regard. And I like that. Um, so I don't believe in policies that say you cannot use AI whatsoever. But I think finding a middle ground in a way that, for some assignments, it's absolutely okay, or, not to use AI. You should not use AI. But for others, you should. And what we do want at the end of the day is we want students to use AI ethically, right? And to help them use an AI in such a way that, when they're done with their education, when they graduate from college, they're able to actually use AI in such a way that, uh, you know, that they can actually function well in their job. Because every job,
Yeah.
if we tell students you cannot use AI and then good luck when you go on the job market, you know, we're not serving them well. And so yeah, I think that's how we have to do it. And then it's of course up to the instructor, right? It's up to the faculty how they want to integrate AI into their courses. And fortunately, we have now lots of um, thought leaders out there in the education space that help um, um, academics figure out, what they could do, what they might want to do, what they should stay away from, and so forth.
Mhm. That sounds like like a good measure in my opinion. So I think what do you think on how much like personal motivation is the trigger for learning? So you said that, and I 100% agree. So the essence is I want to learn. Assessing learning like or knowledge transfer, assessing knowledge transfer, so like this. Um, is something I think mandatory in order to have something like a certificate in the end, or something I can show off to someone else, or apply for a job, whatever is good for. But the essence is I'd like to learn something, and I'm just like one example. I'm here in Sardinia. I said it before, in Italy, and I just said to my wife, I would like to learn Italian better as a language. So, I have an intrinsic motivation to learn Italian, not because I want to be assessed or I want to have a like A degree or something, but I really want to go to a cafe, or I want to speak to people and learn a little bit more about their well-being, their culture. I don't know, the weather, whatever comes up, but there is an intrinsic motivation for that. Then a second one is my oldest son just um, um, flew off to Ecuador for a year exchange student life. So he's 16 and he's speaking no word of Spanish. So I'm pretty sure that he's highly motivated
Yeah.
learning
Oh,
Spanish. We just had a discussion like 2 days ago when he came back and said, "Oh, I do not understand anyone, and so I'm a little bit outside everything." And he said, "Hey, you know what? The first thing you should do is like learn Spanish. The better you learn Spanish, the faster, the more or the better you will be integrated, and the better your experience will be like in Ecuador." So how What do you think? Like, is that is that like 80%, 90% of the students in your university or in any university triggered or motivated by intrinsic reasons, or is that less or even more?
That is a fascinating question. I don't know the answer to it. I mean, I would hope, that there was a lot of intrinsic motivation, because that's, in a way, the best kind of motivation you can possibly have, right? But I would also say that sometimes, and I think that's the beauty of college, you encounter different fields. And at first you may think, I don't have any motivation to learn X, right? But then you take a class in this field and you have an outstanding professor. You have classmates
Mm.
that are motivated, right? And there's a learning conducive environment where you want to study. And then all of a sudden, you have this intrinsic motivation to really do well in this class, right? So that's beautiful when that happens. But sometimes we have different motivations, right? We have to pass a certain class because we have to get to the next level in a
Yeah,
major or
sure.
whatever. And that's fine. And that's fine. But I think ideally we want to instill the love of learning, right, in students, and to help them see things differently and to see new things, right? Because there's this old saying that you see what you know, right? And so the more that you know, the more that you will see. And I think, helping students have an open mind. If educators can do that, right, then we will be able to instill the sense of lifelong learning in them, where there will always be this intrinsic motivation to learn, because it's so human, right? It's so human. That's how our brains are built. They're built to form. Our neurons are supposed to form new connections. Our synapses are supposed to, fire together. And yeah, and so if a college can do that, then I think the college has achieved its goal.
All right. That sounds amazing. So I have one, maybe not the last question, but I have a question like really following up on that. I thought about it in the morning, and so can you think of any other way for teaching, learning, assessing knowledge outside our traditional concepts that are, say, like immune to the existing challenges and threats when it comes to academic integrity? So that follows up a little bit on this: where does learning motivation come from?
Mhm. Oh, so is that your question? Where does learning motivation come from in the first place?
No. I think where learning motivation, though, it can be either intrinsic. I think we thought about that. Like
Right.
you said, there is an awesome professor. That's a great point. I saw that with my kids in school. If you have like a great faculty, a teacher, a professor, it can make a diametral difference. So in learning success. So I think that's I get that. No, but I think coming from that still, because there is still like threats offending academic integrity. There is still like academic dishonesty out there. So and my idea is like, if we know about like this intrinsic motivational part, or people need to pass a course, so maybe people need to pass a course will even lead more into academic dishonesty, because they need to pass the course because it's the last try. I don't know, whatever it's. But I just think about something like a different way of teaching, learning, or assessing knowledge outside the traditional concept that are immune. So to this standard challenges or existing challenges and threats.
Yes, that's an awesome question. And to be honest, I don't know if I know the answer to that, because if I did, I would probably write a book and become a millionaire. But no, you're right. I think that is something that we need to keep working on, right? We need to imagine different scenarios beyond the ones that we're faced with now, that we have, right? So I, you know, I don't like the metaphor of thinking outside the box, but I think if we can, think free, I think we might be able to come up with new concepts and new ideas to envision ways how we can assess learning in a new way, right? I mean, in a way, hopefully that is really non-threatening to the student, in a way that
Exactly.
gives them freedom to grow. It's not punitive, it's formative. Um, yeah, it, I think it's maybe we should start with um, our end goal in mind. What is it that we're looking for?
Yep.
I would be looking for that, hoping that I would be able to assess a student in such a way that, is, again, conducive of the learning environment and non-threatening. And really, what we do now, unfortunately, is really the opposite oftentimes. So it is, you know, when we give tests, right, we
Yep.
create environments that are the worst possible kinds of environments, right? Where people are anxious, where the cortisol levels are high, there's so much adrenaline in the body, not to mention the caffeine and hopefully not other substances. But and so and they're tired, and so they're not at their best, and we're asking them for delivering their best work. So that's just not good, right? So if we can find different ways to assess their learning progress, I think is really helpful. I'm thinking of the European um, university system, right? Where you take a semester course and then at the end you take this enormous test, right? And
Yep.
everything hinges upon that test. And if you fail, then, well, bad luck.
You failed. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's just horrible, horrible.
I know. Yeah,
We
absolutely.
both
No,
have
I,
to do that, right?
I agree, and I know it's a hard question, but I think this question. So the question leads us in some direction. So that's why I thought of it in the morning, and I'm sure there is something in it if we just maybe ask some more peer groups, students, faculty, leaders of universities, community colleges, or like higher education institutions. I would be totally in, and this is what motivates me, honestly, like personally, to find better ways to um, improve the experience. Like the learning experience should be good anyway, right? So because it's about learning, but at some point, and I think this is also, we need to have some kind of benchmark. So, or I'm not sure if we need it, but in our today's system, we need it. So in the aftermarket, the labor market, if you transfer into the labor market, people who don't know who you are as a student and how you performed have only the measure to look in your certificates and whatever. So the work you did and the performance you brought and made. And then I think this makes it more of a point to find out on how to come to the same results, like a certification, and maybe also something to show or even brag about it. If you're very good, why not? And help you like with the transfer into the labor market or whatever you want to do for creating a nice life.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think one of the biggest things for me is to find a way to assess student learning in an environment that doesn't make students more anxious. Because
Mm-hmm.
you may know of Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation, which has been a bestseller here in the States. The truth is, students nowadays are extremely anxious to begin with, right? And then to
Mm-hmm.
situation where they become even more anxious, that cannot be the answer. So finding a way to help them with their anxieties, I think is something that we need to figure out.
Yeah, true. So if I found something, I will let you know. That's for sure.
Might just help us become a millionaire.
Again, we just start some initiatives where we can just start deep dive a little bit more on that topic. All
Yeah.
right.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
points.
So I
Elvin, do
want
you
to
have
jump in.
something? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I want to jump in, Gregor. So we're in the fall of 2025. Academic season is in. Students are in classes, and so it was a pretty crazy summer with everything that's going on with all the LLMs and we just all these companies coming. So what's the atmosphere on campus now? What are you hearing from faculty, from students, from staff? What are the challenges, and what are some of the good things that are happening now? With everything that's going on, especially with academic integrity and all the LLMs and everything, all these different tools now. Oh my God, there's so many. It's unbelievable. So what are you hearing?
Well, every institution is different, obviously, right? I mean, there's some commonalities. For example, we've seen, again, enrollment challenges across the board for different populations. Sometimes it's graduate students, sometimes it's undergraduate students. So those are with us, and they will remain with us. And that is something that we have to, figure out. I think it's a matter of how can we differentiate ourselves from other universities. And I think the fact that we at La Roche have a new president with fresh ideas, um, who is a really a great, great leader, um, and very well respected on campus and well beyond in the world of higher education, that makes a huge difference, right? So there's a lot of hope here on campus. There's a lot of excitement here for a new chapter. And again, as I said before, I'm absolutely thrilled that I'm part of this journey, because that's really neat what is happening, and you have to really check us out online and see the many things that are happening. And we're excited about many programs at our university that are really flourishing, that are doing really cool stuff. I'm thinking of two professors, for example, who are, former FBI agents, and they teach cybersecurity and criminal justice, and they're making a big splash in the greater Pittsburgh area with our students, and so our students are doing great work, right? That is the proof is in the pudding. So if you can point to your students doing great work, then you're doing something right, and that is certainly happening. Something else that is happening here at La Roche, which is kind of countercultural in a way, is, and that again was a directive from Christina Clark, our president, and that is to reimagine the humanities, which is bold, because this is a day and age when institutions get rid of humanities programs left and right, right? But we want to rethink that, because in a world of AI, we have to really hold on to what makes us human. And I think the humanities play a huge role in that. So that's exciting for me as a humanist myself, a former humanities professor. I'm absolutely thrilled that we're doing that, right? And the charge is to do this in a very creative way, in such a way that, we get faculty on board from different disciplines. And that's exciting. That to me is really fun. And I think if you came to our campus, and I really hope that the two of you at some point will come to Pittsburgh and to La Roche, um, it's palatable. You can really feel the excitement on campus.
That's fantastic. You did not mention challenges. What are some of the challenges?
I did point to enrollment challenges. They're always there, right?
Mm.
Also, other challenges beyond enrollment in terms of faculty, finding faculty, especially in programs that are, I'm thinking about a program that we have, and that's a DNAP program, so a doctor in nursing anesthesia program, and that's hard to find faculty in that area, because they get paid a lot more in hospitals. It's incredible. Our hospital, we have a hospital right next door, and they have a sign-up bonus for those nurses. If they stay with 4 years at that hospital, they get a sign-up bonus of $100,000.
Oh, what? Yeah, you're kidding.
You cannot compete with that, right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So it's difficult to get that type of faculty, but we have been very successful, fortunately. We have an opening now for a clinical coordinator in that field, and we're, you know, um, we're certain that we will find the right person. But it's not easy, so you have to be proactive and really talk to people and let them know about La Roche University and the many great things that are happening here. And if people get excited and they see themselves here at our university.
Yeah, that's what I love about these conversations is when I asked that question about challenge, I never knew that. I didn't think about that. real, right? Even Thomas was like, "Wow, yeah, that's crazy." We were both like, "Unbelievable! Yeah, how
Yeah.
can you compete with that?" So
Yeah.
totally understand. So before I ask my last question, I just want to say to Thomas, do you have any other final questions you want to ask Gregor?
Well, no, I maybe just can add something to this topic, not finding the right faculty. That reminds me just of a situation I have as a friend of mine at John the Benedictus in Norwalk Community College in Connecticut, and so it's basically the same topic. It's so hard to find the right person, the right people to really even if you have enrolled courses or you want to enroll courses, you have students signed up for the courses and you cannot start because there is not enough like faculty available. So and what we did there is, or we at least try, and I heard of another initiative in Florida, the same thing, is to utilize AI. Back to AI here. In setting up like learning aids, like learning helping tools, like an AI tutor, for example, that can nowadays be an avatar of myself, look like me, sound like me, and can be taught with everything you can even think of, and then jump in a situation where you just have a simple question and there is no professor available. So that will maybe in the future help a little bit to overcome such faculty enrollment gaps. So just something that crossed my mind when I heard about that. But that reminds me exactly the situation we see in different community colleges around the States.
Wow, that's a really good insight. I didn't think about that. Thanks, Thomas. So, all right, Gregor, this has been a fantastic conversation. Last question. What do you see as the future of higher education?
How much time do we have left?
Easiest question. In
Yes,
1 minute or less.
right. Oh my God. With everything that's happening, I mean, all bets are off, I would say. So we can, unfortunately or fortunately, higher education is in a more reactive role, or has been, in terms of trying to come to terms with latest technologies, latest revolutions, and what have you. And AI is a prime example, right? Nobody was prepared for that. But then again, you know, well, that wasn't just higher education. I guess nobody was really prepared for it. But I think we have to be proactive. We have to really think in terms of what are the most important things that we want to instill in students, regardless of the technologies that we have, right? What is it that we want future generations to take away from their education? We cannot prepare them for their specific jobs because they don't exist yet, right? But the one thing that we need to do, I think, is help them be adaptable. We have to help them with these durable skills, right? The so-called, well, they're also called soft skills. I would call them the liberal arts skills or durable skills, right? Critical thinking, communication skills. Those are the skills that, to this day, the employers are looking for, especially entry-level employers. And again, that's, I think, where the humanities also come in. Helping students understand different perspectives, helping them to see what it means to be human. I think in this world of technology, of AI, of the digital revolution, I think is extremely important. And that's a question, an age-old question, really, that goes back to the Greeks, right? What is it? What does it mean to be human? And that is something that, in the age of robotics, that is something we have to grapple with, right? And what's interesting too is when we had Franz Frangetti here on our campus. He's a engineering professor and associate dean at Carnegie Mellon University. And he gave a really interesting presentation on AI. And he pointed out something that I completely forgot about. And that is that, in a way, the people that imagined AI, a world of AI, were actually artists and writers before, scientists came on board and were able to actually create the technology, right? And that is interesting. And I think we need those artists. We need those writers. We need this creative spirit to envision, a world where humans still live in a humane world, right? And what that means in a world of machines. And I think if universities can do that, then I would hope that this would be part of the future of higher education.
Well said, Gregor. Well said. And before I outro you, and I want to make sure people know where to go to get the book. Where can they go to get that book?
Well, thank you for that question. Of course, you can go to Amazon. You can go to any bookstore, really. You can also go to the website of Johns Hopkins University Press and get the book. And sometimes they run, specials, so you can get it for 30% less. But Amazon, of course, Barnes and Noble. It's the Chief Academic Officer's Handbook. If you Google that, you will find it immediately. And I'm kind of biased here, I admit, but I think it's a really good book.
Hopefully it is. Yes, very good.
That's awesome. We're also going to put a link in the show notes. So people who are interested, they can go and check out the book and see if they want to purchase. So again, great conversation. Thank you. So first, let me outro my first time guest co-host, who I think did a great job. You crushed it. Great questions, a great conversation. He is Thomas Fetch, and he's the CEO of Integrity for Education, GmbH. Thomas, thank you so much.
Thank you, Elvin, for inviting me. And again, I jumped on the call no matter what, because I really think it's worth always like to be in a discussion with you and your guests. Thank you. I cannot say anything more than that.
Awesome. Well, we hope. Oh, okay, go. Sorry.
Thank you again, Elvin, for inviting me. Thank you, Thomas, for being the co-host and for your great questions that I, in some cases, were not able to answer. But I guess that's part of it.
So okay, Gregor, here we go. I'm going to outro you. So today's guest, amazing guest, he is Dr. Gregor Thuswaldner, Vice President of Academic Affairs and Dean of the Faculty at Roche University. Thank you so much, Gregor. I really appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it too. Thank you. Great conversation.
Awesome. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp. Thanks for listening to this uninterrupted conversation as part of our Academic Integrity series brought to you by Integrity for Education. Integrity for Education supports your institution by unlocking the full potential of digitalization through the right mix of software solutions, strategic consulting, and sustainable implementation of state-of-the-art technologies. Learn more at integrityforeducation.de. That's integrity, the number 4, education.de.